Did if you missed it, feel that.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Bearden. We'd like to welcome all visiting Rotarians and guests. I'm going to ask that you silence your phone, so turn off your phone. And then to do a song, I'd like Janice Mitchell to come forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. We're going to sing your grand old flag today, and we're going to sing it with enthusiasm. And remember, the note that I give you, you only have to sing that one time. It goes ba ba ba. So listen for the note. You ready? It goes ba 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 ba. Ready? Here we go. Ready? You're a grand old flag. You're a high flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true under red, white, and blue, where there's never a boast or claim. But should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag. Thank you.
To do the pledge, Ryan Messer, can you do that for us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To do the invocation, Ashley White.
Let's pray. Father, we just come before you today, and Lord, we just praise you, your name, and we praise you for your word, and it's our light and our guidance of what's truth and what is good. Father, I just thank you for Rotary and everything it stands for, and we'll appreciate Jim as he serves and the rest of the board as they serve us. And we, Lord, we just, with heavy hearts, we lift up the victims of earthquake, devastation. And Lord, we pray for those over there. Lord, we pray for healing and for comfort that comes from you. And Lord, we also pray that Rotary will guide and direct their funds, and Lord, they'll see your light as they do that over there. Father, but we thank you for this food and all the blessings that you give us. Lord, we are so blessed, and Lord, I pray we never take those blessings for granted. Amen.
Alan Smelser, guest and visitor.
This is the third time I've had this year, and this is the first time we actually have someone.
Yes, I would. Stand up, please, sir. This is my longtime friend, Andrew Asakwa. We first met at the First Baptist Church of Concord, where this man says good morning better than anybody you've ever heard. He owns a restaurant in town in the city of Knoxville, So Good, and he has a real heart for single mothers, and we're getting back together. Hadn't seen each other in a long time. Andrew Asakwa.
Good to meet you.
Janice, Mobile Meals.
Vate delivered mobile meals today, and yesterday it was 71 degrees, and today it's in the 40s. So I imagine she's freezing cold, which is why she's not here. Or it took her longer to deliver because of going in and out of the vehicle in the cold weather. If you would like to join with us, we would love to have you deliver. Keep in mind that Kelly will be our next president, and after that will be Bruce, and both Bruce and Kelly deliver mobile meals for us. If I have your name already and you filled out the forms, I will be calling you to assist us in the new year, and maybe this summer before we start the new year. So if you still would like to join and haven't filled out a form, let me know. Thank you.
Hey, Janice, while you're up, you want to mention also about February 25th?
Which
Or the Pell City State?
Yes, RLI.
RI.
Yes. If you would like to know more about Rotary, we have established an educational learning experience for you that the Rotary Club of Bearden will pay for you to take the class. And there are 4 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, and a graduate course. At Pell City State here in Knoxville, for the first time, We're offering regional classes. All you have to do is to sign up online to take, if you've never taken one at all, you need to take number one. You take them in order. If you've had one, sign up for two, etc. And you will learn more about Rotary, especially if you think you know everything. I've got news for you, there's more to learn. And if you would like to sign up and do it, our club will pay for you to take the course, but you must sign up. So, and if you need more information, you can contact me. You can contact Jim, he's got information too, so we'd love to tell you more about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Janet. Sam Carey, can you stand up? Sam knows he's done something wrong, he just doesn't know what it is. No, I just wanted to tell Sam how much we appreciate the early morning string dusters. That was excellent. I thought they did a good job. Sam, they kept in the back to kind of help out, but they did great. That was great last weekend. And also wanted to thank Sam. He kind of oversees making sure that we've got set up and that we've got the people to do announcements and invocation, and he's been doing that for a while, and I just wanted to thank him.
That was the best rendition of Rocky Top I've ever heard. That was great.
I can't believe you called me after me when we played rock.
I laughed.
Bruce Van Clean. Bruce Van Clean.
Today, Sam, Doug, Jim, and John are ringing Pine Gap, so, but we have some openings in the next few weeks coming up, so we'll pass this around. If you go there for the first time, just remember to take your driver's license in there and they'll get you registered, and you need to take that each time to get your visitor pass. So it's a pretty easy process, but a lot of fun. They're having us read in groups. We usually take 2 students down the hallway and read to them, and then if there's time, 2 additional things. So you don't have to worry about crowd control. You just have to worry about controlling 2, which could be difficult. So I'll pass this around. If you can read, available to read, come on out. Second thing is just a reminder about the casino night, April 15th. We currently have 5 tables sold and I think about 4 half tables. So I or someone from the club will be calling you in the next several days to try to get your confirmation on your participation. So looking forward to it. Should be a great evening for everybody.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other announcements? I think we're still working on the setup.
Sam, did it give her?
Could get us in trouble.
Table about, it's a save the date early announcement about Scruffy City Orchestra's concert. So feel free to take one of these home with you if you need it to remind you. Chadwick. It's called the Chadwick Suite, and it's 5 different pieces put together. One is about a hobgoblin, so it has a sound like that. One is about a vagrant, possibly a drunk. We had to get permission from the church to play that one. And then there are 3 other suites that are talking about the life of. And so it's sketches of life in the life of a composer, and that's in the second half. And then the first half are 3 different pieces that are exciting pieces, small pieces that they wrote about their life. So that's what that's about. Oh, and then tonight there is a free concert at UT in the Alumni Memorial Gym. And it is celebrating Rachmaninoff's visit when he came to played his last concert here in Knoxville. And there's a statue down there on the World's Fair Park. Have you ever seen his statue down on the World's Fair site? Yeah, there's a statue down there. And so we're celebrating his visit. And if you've never heard Chi Long Hu play the piano, it will be exquisite. It's free, and it starts at 7:30, and it will be magnificent. Parking is the parking there at the stadium, and it's free. So if you don't have anything to do tonight, it will be a fabulous concert. I sat in on the rehearsal the other night at UT, and it's gorgeous.
So what's your role in all this? Will you help out in all this?
I am on the board of advisors for the School of Music, and I am in charge of raising scholarship money for these students. So we're having a gala on April, the Saturday after our event here, and I'm in charge of that event to raise money for scholarships. And we meet, and our board of advisors meets here once a month. So that's what I do. That's my role. Yes.
Curious, because you have the other ensemble orchestra, so what's the makeup of the orchestra?
That's a good question. We have 65 musicians who are either retired music teachers, current music teachers, retirees from the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra, have moved here from other cities and have played in orchestras. So we're all musicians. And we weren't ready to either hang up our bows or stop puffing our lips out to play a brass instrument, which y'all know I play French horn. And we meet every Thursday for rehearsal for 2 hours at the Cathedral Hall at Sacred Heart, and present 2 concerts a year, which are free concerts. We do play some giving time music if you'd like to give to us. And so we're a 501c3. We only pay our conductor, and we pay ASCAP fees, and we pay insurance. And everyone else does it. We pay to play. They pay $50 a season to play. So, yeah.
Insurance. Who gets injured?
And it's there could be lots of ways. You could trip over your instruments, or an instrument could get injured.
Sounds legit.
David Loon, you ready to? David Loon, you ready to introduce our speaker? Thanks.
All right, so we need to especially thank this gentleman because the mayor was supposed to be here this week. He had to cancel. We'll get him rescheduled for later on this year. We have as our honored guest Dwight Vate, who is the Chief Operating Officer and Co-Chief of Staff for Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs. He graduated from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga with a BS in Criminal Justice. This thing is not flat. So he started as a correctional officer and became Knox County Sheriff's Office's public information officer in 1990. Then he worked in planning and development and eventually became the chief deputy. He then moved over to the Knox County Mayor's office as chief administrative officer in 2004. In 2010, he continued to work for Knox County first in engineering and public works and then community development before moving to chief operating officer and co-chief of staff in October 2020. In his current capacity, he works to support the senior directors and directors of community development, Knox County Health Department, Knox County Public Libraries, probation, parks and recreation, Regional Forensic Center, Senior and Veteran Services. Along the way, he became certified as a public administrator and certified public manager. He became involved in such varied pursuits as a board member of the Knox County Employees, board president of the Knox County Employees Credit Union, a CHOTA district chairman, which is a Boy Scout organization, and Land Between the Lakes Advisory Board. And because of late notice, I didn't get much of a bio, so I was trying to find out. I don't even know if he's married. I know he has at least one kid because he's an Eagle Scout, so this is the other information, miscellaneous, I found. He is an honest and tireless public service who works, this is a comment on one of the articles I was reading, who works not to get his name in the paper, to make Knox County a better place. The irony is that in today's world, good people like Dwight are maligned as unelected bureaucrats while shady crackpot politicians and their ethically challenged cronies run amok. And just so you don't think I'm only reporting the favorable comment, the next comment was, Dwight is perhaps the best cousin-in-law I have. Please join me in welcoming Dwight.
Well, honestly, I'm really at a loss as to how to follow that. So I will do a couple things. I will rely on a timer, just being mindful of the fact that it's Friday afternoon and after lunch, and I will both use the timer and any sign of my friend Bruce Van Cleve nodding off as evidence that I need to wrap up. So I am awfully pleased to be with you today. I know that when you get a last minute substitution, frequently you will expect that you're going to see 10 or 15 minutes of your life evaporate, mostly in a haze of poorly prepared and hard to follow remarks that can often be boring. And I'm just here to tell you that I will not disappoint. I will absolutely meet that expectation. So I just want to start on the front end by saying I won't let you down. Our host covered a little bit of my personal and professional background. I should mention, actually, I have 3 kids. My middle son, also named Dwight, is at the University of Memphis working on a PhD in music. We're very proud of him. Oldest daughter, Victoria, is the manager of federal government affairs for a nonpartisan research institute and think tank called the Urban Institute in Washington, D.C. She moved up some years ago right out of college as an intern for Senator Alexander and has just found her way. And we're really very proud of her success, a little dismayed by the fact that I don't know that she'll ever not be in Washington, D.C., but we're very proud of her success. And then my youngest child is a recent graduate of the University of Tennessee, and if any of you are looking to hire somebody with a new degree in sustainability, I'll be around after the meeting for just a few minutes. So let me just say, ordinarily for a group like this, what I would do would be to rattle off a few general statistics about the community, and they are typically of interest. But these days, this is all information that is typically available on the internet, on a multitude of websites that we have that are very well maintained. Reams of information. We pride ourselves on making the county as transparent as it can be. Sorry, I did not start my timer, so Bruce, are we good? Okay, he's awake.
Can't use that. He knocks off most of the time.
So that information is available, and I'll be glad to share with you what I can if it's of interest, any questions that you might have. But I wanted to do something a little bit different today. It's born out of an experience earlier this week. I had shared with our senior management team some information that I wanted to share with you, and I hope it offers a little bit of insight into where we are as a community. As Dave said, I have the privilege, and I really mean that, it's a real privilege, of supporting the majority of the senior directors that run the day-to-day operations of Knox County government. Mr. Kevin Parton, who's the Senior Director of Public Health, Ms. Jenny Holden, who's the Senior Director of Community Development, Chris Thomas, who runs the Regional Forensic Center, Ms. Marita Black, who's the Senior Director of the Public Library System, Robert Buswell, who runs our Senior and Veteran Services, Mr. Joe Mack, who is our Senior Director of Parks and Recreation, Mandy Benedict, who's our Director of Constituent Services, a number of other folks. My job is to support them. They are skilled, credentialed, and dedicated professionals that you won't see out in a public venue like me, but they do amazing work every day, and make no mistake, they are the ones who really make good things happen in Knox County. They work hard to make good public policy. They strive to meet our constituents where they are, and they're just committed to moving the community forward. So my job is simply to support them, to knock down barriers that stand in their way, and to make sure they have what they need to thrive and succeed. It is a great job. I'm incredibly fortunate to have it, and I'm grateful to be the custodian of it for a few brief years. So let me do this. Let me start with just a quick show of hands. I'll pose a few questions similar to what I posed to the staff. So, and I think I know where this is going, but how many of you have lived here 10 or more years? 20 or more? Still strong. 30? Still strong numbers. Even 40. So just not to make you feel bad, but 1983 was 40 years ago, and it doesn't feel like that long. So those of you that have been around that long, maybe a little bit longer, somebody like me, you can remember when Westtown Mall was built. And you'll have to forgive me, my dad was a Navy man, and so he was a little salty like a Navy man. And so he said, why the hell they build it way the hell out west? And I would suspect that not a one of us in here today considers West Town Mall way out west. So, a few more questions. When you're out and about in the community, do things feel different to you? Are you sometimes amazed at the volume of traffic that you see? Are you amazed that you're in an interstate that's 5 lanes wide going one direction? Are you amazed at the speed that you see? Sometimes the really aggressive driving, just terrifying. The other day I saw that on the interstate, a lady just kind of careening about in and out, no regard for the rules of the road. You're sometimes surprised at what it costs. I am, especially with younger children, young adult children, at what it costs to buy a house in Knox County, Tennessee. What it costs to rent an apartment in Knox County, Tennessee. And you may, for those of you that live farther out, you may be amazed and surprised, and not necessarily in a good way, when that pasture field that's been across the road from you or down the street from you for the last 40 years is suddenly chock full of new houses. And it's happening everywhere. Sometimes you'll be out, and this is still something we're all getting used to. Cedar Bluff, Halls, Farragut, Powell, where I live. And you see homeless people, which 25 years ago, a homeless person was something you encountered downtown, typically under the bridge, typically an adult male, probably dually diagnosed with mental health and substance abuse issues. But now in the outlying areas, you will see a homeless population that may not necessarily meet that. Homeless population is not monolithic anymore. But you'll see them most distinctly, I think the big change is in places where historically we never saw them before. So I asked the staff, things feel different as they supervise the departments that address some of these needs and work in the community. And said, yeah, they do feel differently. What I wanted to do today was talk to you about what I think is really one of the primary reasons as to why things feel so different. So, all right, so we'll start here. We are in 2023, and things do look and feel different. So 2021 was the last full count of the census, and that was obviously the year of COVID. Updated data for 2021 shows there are 486,677 people living in Knox County, Tennessee. That's the 21 update. Go ahead, sir. So the census has a 4% margin of error. So you can plus or minus it in either direction, and that puts our population somewhere between 467 on the low end and 506,144 on the if you plus the 21 data by the margin of error. I got to be careful. My internal auditor is in the room, so it's going to be like math check. Glad I went through these numbers. I would submit to you, I think the census, as it typically is a bit of an undercount, and I think it's a particular undercount in 2020 with the effects of COVID. So we assume 506,000, give or take, people that are living in Knox County, Tennessee today. So next slide, please. Raises a question. We know what it means statewide. We know we're still the 3rd most populous county in the state. What does it mean nationally? Go ahead, sir. So the National Association of Counties, NACO, stipulates that there are 3,069 counties and parishes in the United States of America. 3,069. Those range from a low of a population of 64. I haven't figured out where that is. It's obviously out west somewhere. And boy, howdy, would that be an easy place to be in government. Or maybe not, because every single constituent would know where you live. 64 on the low end, 10 million plus on the high end, that's Los Angeles County. So where do we at our 506,000 fit in that equation? And this is really what I hope is sort of the seminal moment for a shift in the way we think about ourselves as a community and in the way the mayor's staff thinks about how we govern and what our challenges are. Next slide, please. So I'm sorry, the scale is just a little bit small, but if you will look to the far right, and the dark blue bar on the far right, 500K, believe you're going to see there's 131 or 132 counties that are at 500,000 or above out of that 3,069. So one more bump, sir. So of those 3,069 counties, 2,900 and change of them are smaller than we are. So what we are, and for those of us that grew up here, and I grew up here, again, I remember when Westtown was built, and it was way the heck out west, and there was nothing on the other side of it. So what we are is a very big place, not just bigger than we've been, bigger than we've used to, but contextually bigger than so many of our sister communities across the country. Go ahead, sir. Things have changed too. Where do these people live? The overall adjusted total, 506,144. So I took the city's data and extrapolated it by that same 4% margin. 200,354 of our 506,000 residents live inside the city of Knoxville. 305,000 live outside the city of Knoxville in the county balance, as we refer to it, with a few in the town of Farragut. I didn't break Farragut out for simplicity, but they're in that 60% total. That's a seismic shift from where we were when I was growing up. I went to city schools. I grew up in the city, lived in Holston Hills. My folks lived in the city until my dad passed away. But that is a consequential shift where you have 100,000 more people living outside of the city limits than you do inside the city limits. And it affects how we govern, how funds are spent, any number of things. And go ahead, sir. So my point to the staff, and that's it for the world's shortest PowerPoint presentation, 3 slides. Thank you. My point to the staff is things feel different because they are different. They are very, very different. And my message to them was, they have difficult jobs. Kevin Parton, our health director, said to me after the meeting, said, a couple days later, said, it's weighed on me because I hadn't sort of thought of myself in the sense of being somebody who's responsible for the public health concerns of 500,000 people. But I am, and he is. And that is true across the board. So we as a community, we look different. We are different. And it's going to be interesting in the coming years, the next 10 or 20 years, to see the decisions that we make as a community as to who we want to be, our land use decisions, our decisions about public education. Almost 11 minutes. Bruce, you still with me? Our decisions about public education, about law enforcement, about fire service, and things like that. So just know you live in a very different place. It is a good place. Again, I could just not be prouder of the staff that I'm responsible for. I don't supervise them, I support them. They don't need me. They're each and every one credentialed subject matter experts. I will tell you, and I'll tell anybody, I do not know how to run a 19-branch public library system and manage the collection and manage the constituents and manage the issues of homelessness and things like that that affect a library system. Marita Black does, and does it well every day with give or take about 160 employees. I don't know how to run a public health department. Mr. Kevin Parton does a fine job, and public health is a tough profession these days. COVID was hard on public health. There was a pretty substantial exodus out. We were very fortunate. We were not as affected by that, but I did go, our public health officer, who is the MD, retired, Martha Buchanan, a good friend and a great public health professional, but Martha retired. We went to market. I used an executive search firm to find a replacement and got exactly 0 applicants. 0 over a search of about 8 months. It's a tough field. I want to brag on Kevin again a little bit. He had a contract with an infectious disease specialist at the University of Tennessee who was retiring. He reached out to them and said, I want to negotiate a contract with the group so that when we need services, if that physician is off, we'll have access to an infectious disease specialist. So I don't know what he did, but he went over there, and when he came with Megan Edwards, MD, who will start next month as our public health officer. He may be banned from the University of Tennessee campus now, but he came back with a public health officer in a tough market, and we're very proud of that. So that's just a little insight into sort of the conversation I had with the staff this week. I can do my best to rattle statistics off from memory or point you to the web. I have to be careful. Again, my internal auditor's in the room, so I got to be careful about my numbers. But be glad to answer any questions or tell you anything about your government that I can. Yes, sir.
What is the rate of growth for like Sevier, Blunt, and Loudon compared to Knox? Are they about the same? Are they growing faster? Are they growing slower? Or-
I actually don't know. Land use is one of those things that is not on my side of the house. I
guess
think
more or less population, I'm more or less saying.
population-wise, I think ours is a bit greater numerically. Percentage-wise, so Blount County is a county of 150,000. So percentage-wise, their rate of growth may be greater than ours, but numbers-wise, ours is going to be above any of those. The distinctions are interesting and sort of blurry because while we used to think of Westtown as way the heck out west, the distinction now between Farragut and Lenore City is squishy because where does one start and the other end other than an artificial boundary? The housing stock, road infrastructure, and that sort of thing are all sort of coming together. I should have told you at the front end, I supervise, so I'm chief operating officer. My partner is a young man named Chris Caldwell, just a joy to work with. Chris is chief financial officer. I have principally the external facing pieces of the government, those that deal a lot with direct constituent services. Chris has the internal facing pieces of the government. He has risk management, finance, HR and benefits. He has engineering and public use where those land use matters are decided. I have libraries, public health, senior and veterans, community development, again, on the external facing pieces. So I'm not as well versed on the growth questions, other than it's growing everywhere. If for some reason you want to keep yourself awake at night, sometime when you're coming up 75 north, get off at the Watt Road exit, take a left onto Watt Road, cut over to Buttermilk, and then take Hickory Creek from west to east. Take Hickory Creek and it'll turn into Hardin Valley. And what you will see ought to keep you awake at night. The number of rooftops, the number of houses, the amount of growth is, for me, as I sit and think about how we're going to meet the needs of these folks, is something that, say, it can keep you awake at night. Yes, sir.
That growth should drive, anyway, MPC's position in the city as permitting all of this growth properly so that our schools are not outstripped and our public services are not outstripped. And in my opinion, and I've only lived here 50 years, so I'm a new guy, but they do a crappy job of that, of controlling what goes on in our county on a basis of can we support. And we always end up behind the 8 ball, trying to build a school, trying to build fire departments, whatever else we're trying to build out there. And I think that you bring in an idea, and hell, I saw apartments out here on 75 go up after the pandemic, and they were full in like 30 days, it looked like. So we have a problem at UT because we can't house the students that we currently have, and they're talking about accepting more students next year than they're housing this year. And they're the ones that drove up our because I have a grandson there, they're the ones that drove up our rental rates around here because there's just not any places to stay. I think we do a crappy job of that in the city. Don't take that as a personal affront.
That's fine. No, we've had a lot of conversations about that internally for years and years, and there is no question. I mean, the university is one of the things as our land grant institution that makes Knoxville and Knox County what it is. But that largest freshman class ever had a direct and material effect on our rental housing market. There just is no question about it. It, as much as anything, had in a shorter period of time an effect on rental rates that has really been difficult for the community to assimilate, because some housing that typically would have served what we consider lower AMI families, area median income families, has been converted from what you would consider affordable or lower income housing to student housing with higher rates. And those families that previously occupied it are struggling to find a place to live. Housing and homelessness are issues that are of concern to me. Traffic and infrastructure are issues that are of concern to us as well. I would ask all of you to get a minute to Google Advanced Knox. Advanced Knox is a major overhaul. It's a study we have undertaken to look at our land use planning, look at what we want to do from the standpoint of, you always have to say managing growth, because that gets a reaction from people who feel like we might be trying to encroach on free market enterprise and things of that nature, which we are not. And the mayor's position on that is very clear. But we do have to figure out how to accommodate land development when and where it occurs. And there are a lot of touchy arguments I don't want to get into here as far as whether or not it is self-sustaining, whether or not new development generates enough income to offset the increased cost of those constituents and the services that they use. And that's something that the community is going to have to reckon with at some point or another. I am at the end of my career. I'll be 62 on my birthday. I'll retire at the end of the mayor's term. I will tell you that we have not had a property tax increase. It's touchy, and we won't have one on the mayor's watch, but we have not had a property tax increase since 1999. Haven't had one in this century. It's 24 years now.
The city's making it up for you, by the way.
Well, yes, unfortunately, that doesn't do us a lot of good. And what I would say is Brad Anders, who was our 911 director, served about 10 years on commission. And he challenged me once in a debate about this when we were arguing the merits whether or not one was necessary. And I argued that it was not. And he said, Dwight, find me a business, any other business that hasn't raised its prices since 1999, I'll wait. And unfortunately, because I hate to lose an argument, he's still waiting. But it is a tough discussion. That is something that the community is going to have to reckon with at some point as well.
But isn't it elastic if the values go up on the property?
There's limited elasticity because the rate goes down as the values go up. Our tax rate adjusted is going to be about $1.55. One of the things that does too that makes it difficult for us is we can't compete for grants on the basis of financial need. When a granting authority is looking at giving money out on the basis of financial need, and your tax rate is adjusted down to $1.54, $1.55, whatever ours is going to be when the next adjustment is done, which should be this year, they view you as having what they call capacity because they look at your peer jurisdictions and their rates are higher. You haven't raised yours, so they're less inclined to invest in you for purposes of financial hardship. They say your hardship is self-imposed. So we're not able to compete particularly well for grants that are based on financial necessity. We compete pretty well for grants that are based on innovation. We're real proud of that. But financial necessity is a little bit of a tougher landscape for us. Yes, sir.
Over the years, one thing you've touched on that I've seen a lot more, like you said, homeless people. I was curious, is any information you can give us on programs that they have to help people? That maybe if you run into somebody that's homeless, you can maybe share it with them. Is there anything we could share with them?
Yes, sir. Some good work's being done in that area. I'll point to one faith-based organization in particular that we support that we think very highly of, and that is Fig Tree Ministries out of Cokesbury United Methodist Church. Fig Tree Ministries operates a day reporting center that serves homeless families that are principally living in their cars. And you can come to the day center, you can get out of the heat when it's hot, you can get out of the cold in the winter months. Importantly, if you think about a homeless family that's living in a car, chances are at least one member of that household is probably working somewhere. We want them to be able to continue to work because that's how they're going to be able to lift themselves out of poverty. Fig Tree gives them a place to take a shower and a place to wash clothes. if you can't take a shower and you can't wash clothes, it's a darn hard thing to stay employed. So Fig Tree offers that and a variety of services, just doing some wonderful work. We also are at the cusp of opening a joint homeless service center with the city. We partner very well with the city on this particular issue and many issues. They're great partners to us. That is going to be in North Knoxville at the old T clinic off Callahan. It'll actually be a facility where agencies come together to share resources, not necessarily a facility where direct services will be provided, but we're excited about that.
I retired from Denso, and your comment about people usually in a car have a job. There was a notice sent out to our departments that we actually had somebody that worked at Denso, and they paid pretty good money at Denso that was actually homeless. But back to a point that you were making about that you were working with a local church, I've seen in some of the other cities and bigger states that those programs work really well. Is there a possibility you could give to some of the other churches? Because I mean, there's all kinds of big churches in Knox County.
They will be a part of the facility that opens at the T clinic. That gets a little bit difficult. One of the things that Fig Tree will tell you is when you work with the homeless, so the lady that runs Fig Tree is a lady named Katie McElwain, just a fine human being, just everything somebody should be in life. And when she will counsel other churches, she'll say, where were you going to let people smoke? Well, we're not going to let people smoke. Well, if you were running a recovery ministry, and there are addiction issues in the homeless population, even when people are working, you have to make these provisions. And so some churches have really excelled in this area, others have struggled, but we're going to continue to work with them. And years ago, the city undertook, and well-intentioned work, they undertook a 10-year plan to end homelessness. We will never author any plan that's going to end anything. We'll say manage, improve, help, but end is a bit strong and don't think we'll end homelessness. I would encourage you to think of the homeless population as not monolithic. We have homeless children in public school, we have homeless families, we have homeless seniors, and we have the traditional homeless. So don't necessarily think of it as a monolithic population, because it's not. I think the gentleman standing to my left is trying to.
One last
Is that him?
I was going to ask about the nostalgic days of the blue and orange route, that I was so hopeful one or the other would get built. And here we are 30 years later, and we got 10 lanes and not moving down I-4.
The original bypass routes are long gone, and with the growth in Hardin Valley, they're not going to be viable because the cost of displacing that very nice new high-end housing stock is not something the state would take on. Two things. We are finishing, Jim Snowden, who's our Senior Director of Engineering and Public Works, is finishing shod road improvements that will eventually go from I-75 at Callahan all the way to Lovell Road. So it's our version of a little local bypass. It will be a minimum upon completion, and the last stretch is really going to be that stretch between Oak Ridge Highway and Pleasant Ridge from the Home Depot. There's still a 2-lane stretch in front of the old Knoxville Municipal Golf Course. Eventually that's going to be 4-lane, or in some cases 5-lane. So eventually you will have 4-lane access from I-75 at Callahan all the way to Lovell Road. Now, there is discussion at the state level of a new bypass route. It would be farther out than the old. It might potentially pick up as far out as Anderson County and come out somewhere west of Lovell Road. But I will long since be drinking senior coffee at Hardee's and complaining about the government before that thing ever really moves forward at all. So I'll be around, but my host is nudging me. So
you wouldn't mind answering a few questions, anybody that wants to?
no, sir. I'll be glad to hang around a few minutes, and I appreciate the chance to visit with you. I know it's hard to keep a civic group going these days. That's another change. So. Hats off to you for such a good turnout and such a good group, and it's been fun being with you.
Thank you, and thank you for all that Knox County does. Got two things. One, we give a book each week to Pond Gap for their library. This one's Keeper. of the Lost Cities Never Seen. And I don't know if they're trying to imply Knox County's never been seen. You'll sign this. And then we'll just give that to Pongap. And then, as a token, we appreciate you stepping in for the mayor. We got a little gift.
I was gonna challenge him to wrestle today.
I bet that's probably why he didn't show up.
Y'all told him. It's the baker's fault. He's the one that called me. He told me.
Our next meeting, we're gonna have a four-way speech contest with 3 students from West High School. Should be interesting. It's on four-way test, I think, or something along those lines. Appreciate everybody coming today. The Smokies is,
We got
Drew?
it right here.
Drew, you wanna,
This is the new Smoky. He's